G'day, this is the Happy Families podcast. Imagine this, the email comes through mid-flight. Your son can't go on holidays during school term. That is the email that Sarah Stevenson, cookbook author and influencer with 1.2 million followers on Instagram at Sarah's_day, received a couple of months back. But it was a little bit too late. Sarah was already on board that plane with her 6-year-old son, Fox, ready to fly to Fiji and have fun, the excitement, the packed bags. You can imagine Fox, probably holding onto his tablet for the flight. The email from Fox's New South Wales primary school arrives. Sarah's response? She takes to Instagram, as anyone with 1.2 million followers probably would, and vents to all those people about having to show flight receipts to the principal like she's filing an insurance claim. She said, and I quote, "He's only missing 5 days of school. Yes, I want him to learn how to read and write and be in a classroom, but I haven't pulled him out of school for a month." So here's the kicker. Her followers overwhelmingly supported her. Comments like, "Restricting when kids can and can't go on a holiday is ridiculous," and "Real life experiences are way better than missing a week of ABCs." Story was on news.com.au a few weeks back, as well as on our socials, and it got us thinking, do we or don't we take our kids out of school for a family holiday? Is the bureaucracy right? Does every day at school count? Or are parents within their rights to take a holiday when it works for them? Life is pretty crazy after all. So that's our conversation on today's podcast. Stay with us. Hello, welcome to the Happy Families podcast. So glad you're here. Thanks for choosing to listen with us. We are Justin and Kylie Coulson with Real Parenting Solutions, apparently, every day on Australia's most downloaded parenting podcast. Kylie, are you ready for this debate? Are you ready to step into the hot seat and play?
I have some really big opinions about this, but I think it's worth looking at what the rules around this are because they actually differ from state to state. In New South Wales, travel is not, underlined, not a justified absence. Schools must record it as unjustified, period.
Okay.
Queensland and Catholic systems consider holiday travel to be reasonable. In Victoria, you need principal approval and a student learning absence plan.
Okay, because apparently missing a week of grade 2 requires strategic planning. Very good. Okay.
So I think this is really tricky. There's lots of paperwork. Parents feel like they're back at school themselves, having to justify their actions, and get special permission. But my guess is that school leaders and teachers alike don't really like it either. They're enforcing policies sometimes that they didn't create and may not even agree with.
Yeah, some might, but yes, yep, fair enough.
And this is a system that varies by postcode. It's inconsistent.
Right, yeah. So one state's one thing, another and we've only done the eastern states. Other states are part of Australia. We recognise that, but we'll be here all day if we go through all the rules everywhere. You know what I think when I hear this though? This is what I don't think anyone talks about. You ask for permission, you get a no from the school. My guess is that most parents are probably going to go anyway. Like you've paid for the airfares, right? Or you've got everything booked and planned. You're still going to go on the holiday. I
don't think so. I think that it stops lots of families from spending time together.
Okay. All right. We differ, although I've never done a study. Maybe you're right. Maybe a lot of people just say, no, I don't want to have my child marked as having unauthorised absences. Okay. I mean, I'm the kind of person who'd say, I know you don't want me to go, but I'm going anyway. But we'll talk about that shortly because I think there's a level of privilege and probably a level of arrogance there as well, but we can cover that off shortly.
So I think it's important to make the case that the education department would make. Why shouldn't kids miss school?
So, I'm on the fence on there are some really strong reasons that kids should be at school, and we have to be.
But again, we're not talking about taking them out for a month or 6 months.
Even a week.
We're talking about taking them out for a week so they can spend time with family.
So I have a lot of sympathy. I have a lot of sympathy for this position. I don't always agree with it. Like I said, I'm getting splinters in my bum from sitting on the fence. But I think that I can have that desire to take the kids out whenever I want because our kids have usually done pretty well at school. I want to emphasise this isn't just about Fox or whoever it is missing some finger painting. In terms of stats, we've gone from 75% of students attending 90% of school days in 2019 to just 60% attending 90% of school days in 2024. That is a massive drop.
And I'm going to suggest that that has nothing to do with family holidays and a lot more to do with anxiety and depression.
You reckon that's a COVID?
100%.
Yeah, potentially. But nevertheless, we've got more school in attendance than ever before, dropping from 75% to 60% across that 5-year period with that many kids attending 90% of school. It's a big drop. Research also backs it up. So a couple of years ago, there was a big study that was done, and I've seen this in various other smaller studies as well. Missing even one day of school, whether it's per week or per fortnight or per term, the research evidence shows that it does measurably affect academic outcomes. Now, we're talking about on average. I just need to emphasize that is on average. But the bodies that promote this, they're not just making it up. The data is there.
And if academic performance is our number one gauge for success in life, then great.
Mm-hmm.
But is it?
Okay, fair call.
Is that literally all we're striving for?
The other thing that I was going to say, and this is something where I'm going to really take the side of the teachers for just a moment. I've spoken to principals about this and teachers about it as well. And what they'll often say is it's not just that the kid's going to have a holiday or that they're going to have a sick day or that they're going to have that family event or they're going to have the mental health day or the birthday treat or whatever it is, so they have a day off school. It's kind of death by 1,000 cuts for a classroom community, for the continuity that's happening in the classroom. Because if you're a teacher, you're trying to teach material, but you've got kids away every day. And so you're constantly having to teach kids who miss something, and it's a new child every week. And so there's all this back and forth. It's really hard to get your system running well in the classroom when you have to keep on going back and going over material and that sort of thing. And the last point that I would make is that...
Well, that just sounds a bit like family life, if you ask me.
You're sounding very unsympathetic.
I am not very sympathetic.
Schools have to draw the line somewhere as well. And I just wonder, when does school become optional? If everybody's taking a holiday whenever they want, it makes things difficult when you've got a systemized system. Right. And that's what we've got. We've got a standardized system that requires it. Now, I'm not saying that I completely agree with it, but these are the arguments that can be made from the school's perspective. And I think that we should at least have some compassion and sympathy for the teachers that are trying to juggle it and recognize that it's a bit of a tricky quandary.
Okay, so you've got enough sympathy for both of us.
Right.
So we've given the education department, we've played devil's advocate for them. Be really great if you could tell me then why parents have an argument for taking their kids away when it suits them.
Yeah, okay.
For me, it's actually about costs and family priorities, right? So,
well, for us, because we've been through this.
Yeah, so we've got 6 children. We've actually had to create a family tradition where we take one child away at a time.
Once they're 16, yeah.
Because we actually could never have afforded to take all 6 of them away.
And I know some people say, well, that's your fault. But like when you have 6 kids, you do want to be able to have a family holiday from time to time, and it's expensive.
And I know lots of families that never go on a holiday because they can't afford to do it in the school holidays because everything is like double the price.
Well, school holiday accommodation can triple depending on where you're going and whether it's peak season or off-peak season. Flight prices definitely double. Working families should be able to afford to have a family holiday, but the reality is I think that's a real challenge. And you and I, with our kids, we've spent years visiting family in a state, both to see family, but also to save on costs.
Sleeping on the couch, sleeping on the floor.
Yeah. And we
squeezing into one bedroom.
We still do. In fact, we've got a family holiday coming up in a couple of weeks because we want to get away, but it's like, oh my goodness, can we really afford another family holiday? Well, we can if we sleep at
Grandma's house.
Grandma's house, yeah. There are family priorities. So aging grandparents, sometimes it's not a luxury, that's a necessity. Maybe there's deaths and marriages and those kinds of things. I think it's also worth highlighting the early years reality. I don't think that a 5-year-old is missing anything that's particularly crucial. Kids are usually going to learn more from travel than just sitting through another, I don't know, phonics session or another basic math session. And when I look at what Sarah did, she pulled her young child out so that they could go and have a family holiday in Fiji for a bit. I think it's okay, whether it's family or relaxation, recreation. I also think that there's a bit of hypocrisy from the education department because they say that we can't waste a single day, but last few days of term, every term.
Not only the last few days, often it's the last few weeks.
Well, as you move up to Christmas, it definitely is the last couple of weeks at least. Pizza parties, movie marathons. I'm not sure that every day matters, so it depends on the day. And a lot of schools are scheduling pupil-free days, which they have the right to do, but then they won't approve the student and family travel. Yeah, I mean, hardline attendance argument assumes that all kids are struggling, that all families are a little bit flaky, and school's always the highest value activity. You kind of touched on that before. Some kids are thriving. Some families are intentional. And I, again, privileged position, but I would put us in that basket. And sometimes a week exploring a new culture beats another week of a standardized curriculum. So what do we do? We've talked too long about this already, but we will talk it through after the break in terms of making the decision that's right for your child, the family, and taking into consideration all of those other factors. That's coming up next. Okay, Kylie, family holidays during school term. Not a black and white issue, although the way you're talking, maybe it's a bit more black and white than I was suggesting.
No, I don't. I'm not suggesting it is black and white. I think that most people have a level of intelligence isn't the right word, but a level of awareness to recognise that you're not going to pull your year 12 student out right in the middle of exam prep or learning brand new content that is going to impact their grades.
Yeah, this is about making intelligent judgment calls. And for the most part, I mean, every parent wants their kids to do well. They want their children. That most parents value education. Not all, but most parents value education and are willing to encourage their children to do a great job at school. So
when we've made some really big holiday decisions, we have spoken with the school and we've said, we're looking at doing this, and this is actually quite a big deal for our family, and we're wondering if this is going to have an impact on their learning.
Yeah.
And teachers have sometimes come back to us and said that that's a really bad week. You can't do it then. But they've also suggested that you've got a window. If you kind of went from this date to this date, we can work with it.
So that's something that I didn't have down in my notes as I was thinking about this. And that is just when you work with schools, most of them, most educators, most principals are pretty reasonable about it. And most see the value in, this will be a culturally relevant or valuable activity. There's worth in you doing this as a family, and we get that sometimes it can be tricky. We've never had a problem with this. That's why I wanted to talk about it as well, because Sarah's experience seemed to be so strong.
Especially for a 6-year-old.
Yeah, you've been rejected. Your request for leave has been rejected for a 6-year-old to do that. So let's tap into a couple of things that I did jot down, other than working with the school and being productive and trying to make it work together. You've already touched on this, but I want to be a little bit clearer. I think timing matters. I don't think that as a general rule it's useful to mess with the first few weeks when kids are settling in.
Agreed.
I know several people who think that's the best time to go because that's the cheapest. I would disagree. I think the kids need stability. They need consistency. They need to settle in. The teacher needs to get to know them. Missing those first couple of weeks of school, especially at the start of the year, is a bad idea.
And cementing your place in the social circle.
Yeah.
It's a really big deal.
You've already touched on avoiding assessment periods and major projects. I think that's important. Fair game, though, is end of term.
Yeah.
Not a lot of learning going on there. Like, fair enough. Get out of there.
Yeah, I think so.
Age, I think age matters a lot here. So if you've got young kids, you can probably get away with a lot more. Play-based learning is probably fine to
I know you're
take
saying
off.
that, but I actually don't think that's as black and white either.
Really?
I think for our younger kids, when they're in, consistent schooling, they actually need the consistency of schooling. It's really like those formative years. They actually need routine, structure, and consistency around everything. So I think it really depends on the kid.
I reckon they're going to adapt pretty well. Fair call. It depends on the child. So you've got to know your child. If they're a high achiever, if they're going to read books on the plane and...
I don't even think it's about that either, though.
Well,
I think it's more about, are they a kid that's really excited to be at school, or are they the kid that's constantly, struggling to kind of say goodbye each day?
Yep.
You're going to go back to square one when you come back.
Yeah, I guess if you've got a really anxious kid who's going to use any excuse to avoid school, it might be a bit trickier. Although, then again, I'm kind of inclined to say if you've got a child who's struggling that much, maybe having the break is going to give them the rejuvenation and the refreshment that they need. I mean, we're all over the place on this. Seriously, I am anyway. Let's move to a big picture take-home message. Submit the paperwork. Depending on the school, it's probably going to be denied. Communicate your reasoning respectfully. I think that's really important. Work with the school in a collaborative way wherever you can.
What's the worst thing that's going to happen?
It's going to get marked unauthorised and you're going to go on holidays anyway. And then you're going to come back with a whole lot of photos and stories, and the kids are going to be able to talk about it, and you're going to be able to say, yeah, we got that time together. We'll remember that for the rest of our lives.
Did you have any employer look at your attendance record?
No.
Sometimes I think we get our knickers tied up in twists for no reason at all.
Yeah, and I think the bigger picture is this. We're not talking about chronic absenteeism. We're not talking about families who don't value education. We're saying, let's get families who are making thoughtful, occasional decisions to prioritise a different kind of learning and a different kind of connection. Like, the real question isn't whether or not term time holidays should be allowed. I think the real question is whether or not we trust parents to make nuanced decisions about their own children's education, or whether we've decided that schools know better than families what the family needs. I think I've just made up my mind. Like, that's my take. That's my take. What's your take? Are we raising a generation that thinks rules are suggestions, or are we finally recognising that education happens everywhere? Let us know at Facebook and Instagram. We've got some social posts going up today to prompt the question and get some feedback. Or you can email us or send us a voice note to podcasts@happyfamilies.com.au. Just remembered, Kylie, I have a confession. End of November, last couple of weeks of the school year, we're taking the kids away for my 50th. Should I write that letter?
Do you know how many hoops we had to jump through to just get everybody on that plane?
Oh, we're going. I don't care what they say. We're going. The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rowan from Bridge Media. Mim Hammonds provides additional support in terms of research, admin, and more. If you would like more information about making your family happier, or just to join in the conversation, check us out on our socials at Facebook and Instagram, or visit happyfamilies.com.au.